Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton, and I just got back from seeing Ouija, Origin of Evil. Now, when it comes to prequels like this, it's important to note what happened in the first film, but here's the thing. Ouija, Origin of Evil has little to do with the original film other than the premise of using an Ouija board for a horror film. And that is a good thing. The first Ouija was an absolute mess and one of the worst films of 2014, but this new film is much better, with much better acting, a much more scary story, and a much more distinct style. But let's get to the story. The story revolves around a mother and her two daughters, Madame Xander and Lena and Doris. They're having financial troubles after Madame Xander's husband passed away, and in order to get money to keep the house from foreclosing, they have seances. After an experience with an Ouija board, Lena tells Madame Xander that she should probably use an Ouija board for her seances. And when she does, her other daughter Doris actually happens to be spiritually attuned. But that's all I can say without spoiling anything. What did I like about this film? Well, the acting is absolutely brilliant, especially from the three lead actresses. And considering the two of them are child actors, that's actually saying something, as Doris in particular is a very good when it comes to both her creepy scenes and her childishly innocent scenes. In many ways, she seems like a modern blonde version of Reagan from The Exorcist, if that makes any sense. And once you see the film, you'll get what I mean. She's so scary at times, yet so charming at other times. Also, this film really embraces the fact that it takes place in 1967, as there's actually an old 60s style Universal logo before the film begins, a title screen that looks like it came right out of the 60s, and a color palette and costume designs that really remind you of the time period. It's fully immersed in that 1960s horror style that really works for this prequel film regarding the Ouija board. Also, I don't know if you'll get this, but when I was watching this movie in the theater, there were these black dots that appeared on the upper right corner of the screen. I just thought that was a cool effect. Speaking of effects, the effects for the Ouija board are naturally very simple, but they work very well for the film as it doesn't rely too heavily on CGI and conspicuous fake effects. That's saved for the spirits. Yeah, I don't like the spirits effects. They're conspicuous CGI, and thankfully they're only used a couple of times in the film for the jump scares, so I was okay with them, but they could have done a better job with the visual effects. But a horror film lives or dies upon its scare factor, so is the film scary? Indeed, it is very scary. Ouija, Origin of Evil is scary mainly due to the fact that a lot of the scares are built up very well. It's not like it's jump scares every 10 minutes. In fact, the first 30 to 40 minutes of the film is carefully laid out to set up the characters, their conflict, and Doris's spiritual connections, which start out only mildly creepy and mildly chilling, but then they go to full-out terrifying near the end of the film. There's a natural progression throughout. It's not like the first time she does it, there's a million jump scares coming at you at once, and it just shocks you in a cheap way. The third act does have a huge amount of jump scares, but in my opinion, since the film took its time and waited for it, I feel that those jump scares are earned at the end. And therefore the audience is engaged enough in the characters and in the story for you to actually care. Last thing that I'll mention about this film is all of the great cinematography. There's tons of great camera movements. There's tons of excellent shots, as the film knows when to be close up, when to be far away. It knows when to show things, when not to show things. It's set up the way a good horror film should be set up. And since this film was directed by Mike Flanagan, the guy who made Oculus, it seems like he's made another hit here. So yeah, the film about the Hasbro board regarding spirits not only has one of the best horror films of the year, but also has one of the only prequels that is a million times better than the original. So I give Ouija, Origin of Evil, an 8.5 out of 10. See it if you can. Bye.